Welcome to the Front 7 podcast right here on YouTube. I am your host, Money Mike, and today I want to discuss the firing of Marc Trestman, former Ravens offensive coordinator, as he was fired yesterday morning by the team after a loss to the Redskins 16-10 on Sunday. And it had to be a crushing blow for the Ravens. I mean, back-to-back home losses. Something had to be done. Offensively, they just weren't getting it done. The defense was doing its job. The defense so far this year has been great. I mean, I would put the Ravens defense up there with the Broncos and the Vikings at this point. Because they would be the top three at this point, in my opinion. I mean, when you look at what the Ravens defense is doing, I mean, the offense should only have to put up like 20-some points and win and easily put the game away, but yet the Ravens struggled each week to win. And I saw a statistic on Twitter where the Ravens' largest margin of victory under Trestman was 6. So, I mean, that is really, really low. Kind of goes to show you that Trestman really isn't an NFL offensive coordinator. I mean, if you really, really want to think about this here, what offensive coordinator, when the run is working, when the ground game is working, and your running back is shredding the opposing defense, what coordinator abandons that run and abandons what's working? I mean, that really hurt the Ravens. The last 22 plays for the Ravens against the Redskins were passing plays. There was not a single rush or running play in the final 22 plays of the game. When Terrence West was doing so good against a poorly ranked Redskins defense that is not that good against the run, by the way, why abandon the weakness? You go from attacking their weakness to completely ignoring their weakness. That was something that I never understood when I was watching the game. So, right now, the Ravens have promoted offensive coordinator Marty Mortonwig to offensive coordinator. He was their quarterback's coach. He was last an offensive coordinator for the Jets, and he was, of course, with the Eagles in the McNabb era, and we saw how their offenses were. So maybe the Ravens are hoping here that, quite similar to 2012, now I ain't saying that it's a lock, but you may want to go put your money on the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. Because in 2012, because this is history repeating itself all over again here, folks. In 2012, the Ravens fired Cam Cameron, coincidentally, after they lost to the Redskins, promoted Jim Caldwell, and they went on that magical Super Bowl run to become the Super Bowl champions that year. And hell, if you really want to stretch this out and really make this a very, very coincidental thing with the Ravens losing to the Redskins and going on to win the Super Bowl in 2000. Now, okay, let's put aside the 2000 Ravens defense for a second. In 2000, Tony Banks was their starter. And after they lost to the Redskins, what is it about the Ravens and losing to the Redskins that promotes change or causes change? After Tony Banks, or after they lost to the Redskins in 2000, they moved on to Trent Dilfer, and the rest, they say, is history. And yes, okay, having the 2000 Ravens defense helped, but still, so they changed quarterbacks after they lost to the Redskins, went on to win the Super Bowl. 2012, they fired Cam Cameron after losing to the Redskins, and they won the Super Bowl. Fire Marc Trestman after losing to the Redskins. Are they Super Bowl bound? I mean, history says putting your money on the Ravens right now. Go to Vegas, putting your money on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. And quite honestly, I really think the Ravens have a great chance at making a run for the Super Bowl. And some of you may think it's crazy, but when you look at what their defense has done this year, through 5 games, they held the Bills 7 points, the Browns to 20 points, in which the Browns were shut out after the first quarter. Remember, the Browns scored all their points in the first quarter, and they were shut out the remaining 3 quarters. That defense tightened up, and the offense came back to score 25 points, and they won that game. So for the defense to hold the Browns to 20 points after they got all 20 in the first quarter, and tighten up the way they did for the remaining 3 quarters, was simply amazing. I mean, you really thought that the Ravens were going to lose to the Browns when they were up 20. I mean, it was amazing. I thought, but yet they came back and won. They only allowed 17 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's it. And they came back and won that game off a Justin Tucker field goal, 19-17. You know, the only game so far they have allowed the most points to so far through 5 games is 28 to the Oakland Raiders. That is the most points they have allowed so far through 5 games. The Redskins, they won 16-10. Now, granted, okay, when you have Perriman dropping, can't drag his feet in the end zone, C.J. Mosley screws up an interception, you can say what you want. But when the Redskins only put up 16 points, and you're only putting up 10, when your division rival put up 38 points on them in week 1, I mean, when the Steelers went out there and just blew them out, 38 points, Cowboys 27, Giants 27 points, but yet you can only muster 10 points. That's on the offensive coordinator. I mean, obviously, the offensive coordinators in Pittsburgh, Dallas, New York, they were able to see something. They were able to take advantage of the Redskins defense being very bad this year. And they're very bad against the run. And Terrence West was having such a great game. And when you only pass the ball for the final 22 plays, and you don't even run the ball, what was going through Trestman's head when you're not even taking advantage of their weakness? The Redskins' weakness is their inability to defend against the run. West was having a good game, and was doing a great job extracting them. But yet, you pass for the final 22 plays of the game. I don't understand that at all. When the defense is only allowing, on average, 17.6 per game, 17.6 points per game, that is under 20 points. Okay, they're only allowing about 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal a game. That's what that averages out to. 2 touchdowns and a field goal. That's it. That's all the Ravens defense has given up on average. But offensively, they only are scoring 18.8 points a game. If you round that up to 19, so I mean they're only averaging 19 points a game. So you see why the Ravens have been stuck in this long battle of these close games. When your defense is only allowing 17, 18 points a game, and even less when you look at, the Bills, 7 points, you should be able to get out there as an offense, score 20, 30 points, and put that game away with ease. But it just was not happening. Trestman just was not calling the right plays to make it happen. Now, granted, yes, the Redskins scored off a kickoff return. Brashad Perriman didn't drag his feet in. There was a lot of mistakes too on the Ravens. Don't get me wrong on that. C.J. Mosley fumbling the ball after he intercepted it, and the weird NFL rule where it becomes a touchback, and then the Redskins get the ball back after an interception. I don't understand. I still don't understand that rule. So yes, there's a lot of mistakes the Ravens made that can be fixed. But one of the things the Ravens needed to do was to move on from Marc Trestman, because you would have been wasting away that defense. As I said, I put the Ravens defense up there with anybody. I put up there with the Broncos and the Vikings defense. And right now, I would say the Ravens would be sitting at 4-1 if it wasn't for Marc Trestman's play calling. Because, I'll give it to Oakland. Oakland is a great team this year. So, giving them that one, I think 4-1 is what the Ravens should be sitting at. But they're at 3-2, and they're already behind in the division as it is. So they needed to do this now, because their schedule only is going to get harder throughout the rest of the year. They still got the Patriots. They got the Steelers twice. The Bengals twice. They have not beat the Bengals since, I don't know, it's been like 3 years. I think since they have beaten the Bengals. So, that's one of the humps that the Ravens have to get over. And that's beating the Cincinnati Bengals, especially if they're going to win this division. And getting rid of Marc Trestman now will allow them to get a few games under them before the bye and before they hit that tough part of their schedule. So by the time they play New England, they got Philadelphia coming up, and they put the Giants and the Jets in the next 2 weeks. Now they'll be able to be ready as the season goes on and have everything in place now as opposed to later. Because I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, well, why didn't they wait for the bye? I said, listen, here's the thing. Like I said, the Ravens had to make the move now. You don't wait till the bye. Because when you look at what the offense was doing under Marc Trestman, you're throwing away games. And you're throwing away a chance at the playoffs. They had already lost 2 games in a row, so they needed to do something quick. After very careful consideration, I have decided to make a change to our offensive coaching staff and have replaced Marc Trestman with Marty Mornhinweg as offensive coordinator for the rest of the season, said Coach John Harbaugh in a statement. My obligations are to the team, the organization, and the fans to be the very best team we can be. Today we find ourselves 1 game out of the division and conference lead after experiencing 2 tough losses at home. We will work to be better in every aspect of our football team. As you can see, John Harbaugh is already thinking ahead. And to me, the really big one was when Harbaugh brought up the conference, because the Ravens have not had many home games in the playoffs. They've mostly been on the road in the playoffs. And I am sure the Ravens are tired of going on the road. Tired of going to Denver. Tired of going to New England. For once, they want New England to come to them in January. They want Denver to come to Baltimore in January. So they don't want to be on the road. So Harbaugh is forward thinking of, alright, we're already behind the Steelers, and we're already behind the Broncos and the Patriots and the Steelers in the conference, so we have to do something now. And I give John Harbaugh credit for making the move now as opposed to later on. And the funny thing is, to me, is I see a lot of people that say John Harbaugh should be on the hot seat, but I don't understand that. I mean, okay, yes, he's made a couple of poor decisions. I mean, let's face it. I mean, he's not a perfect coach, right? No coach is perfect. I mean, okay, maybe Bill Belichick, but for Harbaugh, when you look about the decisions of going for two, missing, I think that was against Oakland, and they lost 27-28, so if they actually just kicked the extra point, they're going to overtime. Maybe Oakland goes for two. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what would have happened in that situation. And then against the Redskins, fake field goal, which didn't work. So you gave up 3 points there. And when you figure 10-16, you kick that field goal, you only need a field goal to tie the game to send it to overtime. So, yes, Trestman was the issue of the Ravens, as I said before. I think it would have been a waste of the defense if Trestman would have stayed on board and they hadn't fired him. But for the Ravens, they recognized the need to get their season back on track after losing 2 straight at home to the Raiders and the Redskins. And it's going to be interesting to see if Morton Wig can turn the offense around. Very similar to what Jim Caldwell did. Can he do the same thing that Caldwell did in 2012 when they fired Cam Cameron? And like I said, will history repeat itself? Every time the Ravens have lost to the Redskins, they seem to fire their offensive coordinator, and then they go on to win the Super Bowl. So does history repeat itself for a third time? Or, okay, in 2000 case, as I said earlier, they swapped out starting quarterbacks, but still, when the Ravens lose to the Redskins, it creates change. It forces change. And forces change for the good. So, I don't know. Like I said, maybe we should go to Vegas and put our money down on the Ravens winning the Super Bowl in Houston. Because that's what the past is telling us. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens the rest of the season with the Ravens. They play the Jets and the Giants in the next 2 weeks. But that is it for now. I wanted to cover that real quick. Marc Trestman is out as the Ravens offensive coordinator. Who knows? He might be going back to the CFL. Who knows? Because I really don't think he'll be in the NFL after this. Unless some team really signs him for some reason. But, I mean, Bears fans were happy to see him leave. And Ravens fans are happy to see him leave. So that should tell the other 30 teams something about his ability to be a coach in the NFL. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Did the Ravens make the right move? In which I'm pretty positive if you're a Ravens fan, you're going to say that they made the right move. And will history repeat itself? Am I crazy to think that the Ravens losing to the Redskins and changing their coordinator is going to lead to their 3rd Super Bowl? Maybe I am, but history says the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I've been your host, Money Mike. I will have a week's worth of videos coming up this week. And this time I say, because as I record this podcast, I'm going to record another one afterwards on another topic. I got some Everything Else podcasts coming up as well. Subscribe to this channel for more of the Front 7 podcasts, more of the Everything Else podcast. And I've been your host, Money Mike. Thank you so much for listening. And I will see you all later this week with another round of the Front 7 podcast and the Everything Else podcast.